Good afternoon, folks. Let's get right into it. So, how do we break knowledge silos with AI? Let's meet Alice and Bob. Given the same issue, I've seen this hundreds of times during my career so far. Sometimes Alice can resolve the same issue in 5 minutes, and Bob takes 5 hours. Why is that? Is it because Bob is not as smart as Alice? Or is it because Alice has spent some time before, has some experience? Maybe she's built the system herself and knows more than Bob. And hence she can do it in 5 minutes. And Bob, during the heat of an incident, during an unfamiliar outage, is learning on the job. He's reinventing a wheel that Alice has already made for him. Essentially, we are all used to playing Russian roulette whenever we go on call. Can we figure this out? Can we not? And somehow that's accepted. Alice has spent so much time figuring something out. We should actually respect the work she's put in and make sure that it spreads across the organization so that Bob can spend his time discovering new things and making the org and team a better place for everyone. Everyone's first question when you have an unfamiliar issue in front of you is, has this happened before? And how did we fix it the last time? How did we fix it the last time is very different from what the docs tell you to do. It's a simple question, and so far, I haven't worked at a place that has successfully answered it. This is the status quo. Every time you have something, you frantically search across Confluence, Slack, Notion, Stack Overflow. Let's get ChatGPT into the picture. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to find it. You need these magic search terms. You need to know half of the answer to find the entire piece. Even if you manage to find it, I've spoken to hundreds of developers that don't trust what they find within your internal teams. People will spend 45 minutes extra going through Jira, going through Slack, trying to confirm that, oh, this is useful, this is valid, and this has been used before. Because the last thing anyone wants when they're fixing one problem is to create another one for themselves. Eventually, as a result, if you fail on both counts, you phone a friend, you wake someone up, you say, hey, I'm so sorry, Alice, can you please help me? I'm stuck. This is expensive, inconvenient, on-demand learning that we have accepted as the status quo. So what? Why fix something that is broken, that isn't broken, right? Because, well, developers burn out, teams get a bad reputation, you quit jobs. Like I know people that have personally quit jobs because of this. The most experienced, the best developers on your team are hardest hit. Eventually, your team's output suffers and your manager's on the hook. Hey, why is this team not performing? Where's the product velocity? Underlying all of this, right? Like we have these existing solutions. Hey, you're going on call. Let's shadow someone. We have knowledge transfer sessions. People get up in front of a mic, lunch and learns. Let's order food and we'll all learn how the system was built. We have knowledge bases that span across Confluence, email, Notion. We then say, oh, let's have handoff meetings. Everyone get in the room every Friday when on-call shifts, we'll go over what happened. We have onboarding guides and buddies, like new person joins your company. Let's dedicate 2 engineers for 2 months to help you spin up, because that's a good use of resources. And then we have Slack. Underlying all of this is an incentive problem. Anytime you write good documentation, this is what you get. You spend 4 hours learning something, and then you have 2 hours left in your day. So you write it up like a good engineer, and then the rest of the team goes, thank you so much. But instead, if you spend those 2 hours building product, you get promoted, you get money. That's what people want. Without recognizing this problem, we can't have a good solution. What does the good solution look like? You need to be in the right place at the right time. So you need to meet developers where they are, when they are. So let's revisit these solutions and see why they fail. Our right place, right time. You're shadowing. You may be in the wrong time. 2 weeks of shadowing, nothing happens. You're done with shadowing, now you're on call. Okay, but what did you learn? Nothing. Knowledge transfer sessions. I have never attended a knowledge transfer session where at the end of that 1 hour, I'm like, I can operate this system just as well as the person giving the presentation. You know what the most common takeaway from knowledge transfer sessions is? If something goes wrong, I know who to ping. If you're in knowledge bases, I'm working in the browser, I'm working in the terminal, I'm working in Slack. I'm not working in Confluence. I'm not working in email. I'm not working on the Linux mailing list. I'm not working in ChatGPT. Handoff meetings, okay, and that's an expensive coordination problem where I tell you, oh, today or this week, this is what happened, and then I pass it on to the next week. What if a problem happens every other week? Now the chain is broken. And knowledge handoffs like this, now you're not going to propagate that knowledge. Onboarding guides and buddies. You know what they say? You know what they tell every person that's onboarding? If there's any errors, please improve the onboarding doc, right? And somehow it is never satisfied, it's never correct, it's always out of date. It's like an asymptotic eventual consistency. You'll never reach it. And if you're relying on Slack, good luck. But this is what developers want from first principles, right? Don't make me do stuff I've already done again. I don't want to manually write anything. Don't make me use my memory because that's what happens. Nobody has perfect foresight that says, oh, you know what? I'm about to encounter a problem. I should keep track. I should have a good memory now. No, it happens with hindsight. You only know after you've done something, oh, that was way harder than I thought it would be. And then now you have a choice. Okay, I have to redo everything. I'm not doing it because the person who's figured it out doesn't need it. You need to be in the right place. What does that mean? Give me contextual results without context switching. You need to be in the right time. So, for example, the best time for a creator is to write everything just after they've encountered the error, just after they've overcome some hard things. That's not the best time for a consumer. The best time for a consumer is when they need it. It could be 2 weeks from now, it could be 2 months from now. And if this is a database backup issue, hopefully never, but could be 2 years from now. And then we need to solve the problem of trust. I need to be able to look at a document and know, should I trust it or not with absolute certainty? If you go to Confluence, Notion, etc., you have no idea when it was last run. Will it run on your fancy Arch Linux setup? Who knows? Oh, and it should be privacy friendly. I don't want a keylogger that logs everything. I don't want something that takes a screenshot every 2 seconds on my machine. Essentially, what we want is an extra set of eyes that's always looking, but privacy friendly, so that it can watch what you're doing, overcome something, and then share that with the person when they need it most. An extra set of eyes that's always looking, unblinking, not evil at all. That is an eye. That is AI for sure, but that's the wrong AI. It's much more friendly. And how can we leverage AI to implement the first principle solutions that I talked about? So we leverage hindsight. We can go back in time by deeply integrating wherever developers work. Your shell, your browser, they already have history. Let's just leverage it. Everyone here has shell aliases. I have tons. I love them. They keep me productive, but they're useless on anyone else's machine. That's another manual thing that people need to come across and transfer. I want to search by intent. If I want to validate a cert, I don't want to know what OpenSSL command I should do, what flags I should have. I just want to search how do I validate a certificate. Let's keep the human intention alive and let's leave the commands for the machines. And then if I'm new at something, I don't want to be trusted with running complicated commands. I could make a mistake. So how can we ensure that your execution is guided? It's foolproof. Let's do a demo. All right. Is it big enough? Okay, that's big enough. So in a past life, I used to run a lot of Kubernetes clusters, and we used to always have networking outages. And one thing that commonly happened is maybe certbot or cert manager failed to renew a certificate. And now you had to go in and check, okay, is this certificate valid? How do you check that? So let's see. I have a local Kubernetes cluster. There's a cert in this config map. So let's look at it. Okay, let's output JSON. The perils of live demo. I skipped a heartbeat there. Okay, so we have the certificate is stored inside data. So let's see my JQ foo. Okay, so we have this. Let's save it to a file. And now we need to parse this cert. Which I don't remember. I'm going to ask Savvy. Parse the X509 cert in ca.crt and tell me when it expires. Hopefully OpenAI is not down. Okay, so we got the command. I'm just going to run it. Okay, I see the problem. These slash ns cause a tiny flag. The first time I did that error, it took me 3 hours to figure out that I need this. And so now, okay, now it's a well formatted cert. And now we know, okay, this is a valid cert. If I want to share this with other people, how do I do this? I want to go back in time. I tell Savvy, I want to record my history. It brings up my shell history. Now I can just simply say, take the commands that I want. We can skip over all the mistakes I made, right? And we can skip over Savvy, ask, and pretend that I came up with this OpenSSL command myself. There's also some aliases here. So I'm just going to press enter. First thing Savvy does is it expands my aliases. Then, because I may have sensitive data, it gives me an opportunity to redact something or remove fraud API keys. We don't have any of them here. So we're just going to, oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, we don't have any of them here. So we're just going to continue. You may not want to use Savvy at all. You may just want to keep everything local. So you can export to a local markdown file. We're going to go to Savvy and create an artifact. It's sending the commands that I selected from my shell history to an LLM, that's Llama 3.1. And then it figures out what these commands are doing and creates a description and title for each step. In one click, we can go to the dashboard. Let me expand it. We can go to the dashboard and then we can start editing things. Okay, there's nothing to edit here. But typically, not everything that you record is relevant. Maybe the config map is a variable that changes at runtime. So we have this special syntax that says, make this a placeholder. And now, if someone wants to run it, they can just copy this command, execute it on any shell that has Savvy, and they'll be able to run it if they have the right credentials. So if this is a private runbook, only I can run it. We have teams, so you could transfer it to a team. And then only people that are in part of your team can run this, have access to this and can run it. So for example, let's call this SREday demo. All right. So I'm going to go back to my terminal and we're going to walk through what the second half of this looks like. How do I run this? This Savvy run. Every single thing that is shared with me, I have access to here, where I can search by intent. I can say, how do I validate a cert? How do I get troubleshoot network connections? You don't have to know whether you're using LSOF, OpenSSL, what have you. So let's start with SREday. Creates a brand new shell and automatically places the first command right in my shell. There's no copy pasting. There's no mistakes. All I have to do is press enter. It works. Okay, so now it knows that the next command has a parameter, the thing that we created a placeholder for. So let's reuse go root ca.crt. Automatically replaces it, and any future commands that involve this placeholder, it'll never ask me again, right? Automatically replace it. Now we continue pressing enter, and then at the end, we're done. So if it took me 4 hours to figure out this flag, the next time someone can just press enter 4 times and they're done in seconds. The reason we do it this way and we don't automatically execute everything is you can stop wherever you want. You can go off of on your own adventure. If you have a diagnostic runbook with 5 steps and the first 3 give you the answer, you're done. Stop there. In the future, this is where we'll collect analytics. So we'll know whether each command succeeded, what OS it succeeded on, whether commands take 30 seconds or 5 minutes. Because if you're unfamiliar and you run a command that seems to be stuck, panic. At the end of the day, all we're trying to do is get the expertise that's already in your teams and make it easily accessible so you are calm and collected when you need to be. So let's go back. Savvy's CLI is open source. You can see it on GitHub. You can get started with it. I'm Shantanu. I'm the founder. And you can try Savvy anytime. Get savvy.so/CLI. Let me know if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you so much. So we are getting to questions. Anybody? Coming.
Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
So you mentioned that you guys are using Llama 3.1, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys is it your own proprietary? Did you guys fine tune it, create your own for this stuff? Or just, it's good enough as it is?
Yeah, it depends on the domain. So for now, it's good enough. And the goal is that in the future, what we'll do is we'll build RAG on top of everything your team has. For example, if you want to say, how do I SSH into a machine? ChatGPT will not give you the right answer because it's very specific to your infrastructure. It's very specific to your setup. You may not even use SSH. You may have your own internal script, right? Savvy will know that because someone on your team has already done it once, has created a guide. And so then we'll build RAG on top. So when you ask Savvy, how do I SSH in? We'll give you the right answer.
Got it. So to have a context.
Yes, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we'll probably do RAG before we do fine tuning.
And Llama is good enough for that, right? You don't need to go, okay.
Yeah. So I was, until 2 months ago, I was using GPT 4.0. And then basically I heard from customers that they don't want their data being sent to GPT 4.0. And luckily for me, by the time Llama 3.1 was good enough, and 3.2 is getting better. Open source models for the win.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, one more.
So you mentioned if one of the users does something once, the system will know, right? So like going back to your example of, maybe you're not using SSH, maybe you're using something else. So let's say you switch from that something else to something else. How long until Savvy picks up the change?
Yeah. So this can happen in 2 ways. Number one is what I call a cache miss. Someone runs into the error and then we detect the exit code is non-zero and then flag it immediately. That's one way to find out. Or the other way is, since everything in Savvy is structured data, for example, let's say Kubi is a popular tool that replaces kubectl. If you have 50 artifacts or runbooks that you want to migrate and you're using Notion, Confluence, you have to replace every single one manually. With Savvy, it's all structured data. We can do it in 1 second. You can just say, hey, replace kubectl with Kubi everywhere, and it'll be done. So those are the 2 ways that you'll be able to make sure data is always accurate.
Thanks.